Hello, this is Bright Spark, and today I'm going to be talking about Wings of Fire Winglets, number 5, Hero, centered around Cliff the Skywing. If you do not know who Cliff is, or simply just do not remember, Cliff is the little baby prince of the Skywings, Ruby's son, who is probably taken my favorite place for a baby dragon. Sorry, Bumblebee. Cliff is just too good. There will be spoilers for this tiny little book. It's small, but there are some pretty significant lore reveals. In a brief summary, it begins with Cliff adorably telling us the story about how he was hatched. And it turns out that the long-awaited reveal of Cliff's father is a skywing named Jasper, who works at the hatchery. See, he always wanted to have a dragonette, and he is very good around them, such as his job at the hatchery, but the thing is, apparently because of Queen Scarlet, the former queen, he had to apply to some sort of program in order to even have a partner or a dragonette, and unfortunately he got turned down for some unknown reason. One of the reasons could be that he wasn't a soldier who fought during the War of Sandwing Succession that happened during this time, but sometimes, apparently it says his lungs didn't do what they were supposed to and he had trouble breathing. I like that because it's a different sort of thing to kind of explore with dragons in Wings of Fire, because it's really nice to have some sort of connection to some real world things, and it makes him a more unique and interesting character. Like, you actually want to get to know who Jasper is and what his story is. But the reason he wasn't a soldier, because Scarlet would totally throw him into the army, according to the book, was apparently his grandmother was super rich, so she was able to kind of pay her grandson out of fighting, which is really nice. I want to meet this grandmother. Anyways, Queen Scarlet made that rule to not have her dragons kind of have their own families willy-nilly, because one of the reasons was her daughter, Ruby, should not be tempted to have a family ever, because it risked Queen Scarlet losing her throne. It also was a reason to control the Skywings as well, which actually is not talked a lot enough, but more on that later. Anyways, Ruby is treated pretty much like a prisoner. She can't really do anything she wanted to do, and all she really wants to do is have a family. But her mother is unfortunately very controlling. Anyways, one day Jasper's working at the hatchery when all of a sudden he actually bumped into Princess Ruby, who is still at this time unknown who her true self is, which was Tourmaline. So she's still kind of a brainwashed Ruby, like that version of her. Anyways, she's hiding in the hatchery and Jasper finds her, and he knows that it is very dangerous talking to her, because if anyone suspected anything and ratted out on them, something bad was definitely going to happen. But Jasper and Ruby had already an established relationship. Apparently when they themselves were younger, they were really good friends. And another thing that Jasper reveals is he actually does have that other condition, one that makes it hard for him to recognize faces, which could be some sort of prosopagnosia, which is a neurological condition that makes it hard to recognize faces. But the funny thing is, he actually knew Ruby whenever she was Tourmaline, and yet still recognized her as Ruby. You can tell that they have a deep connection already, and are pretty much destined to be together anyways. Ruby is looking for a place to hide from her overbearing mother one day, and Jasper lets her sort of hide out at his place in his little cave, and that's kind of where their relationship at that point kind of takes off. Later on, years later, it turns out that Ruby is actually expecting his egg, and Scarlet is absolutely furious. And she actually finds out because somebody ratted on Ruby, and Scarlet eventually wants to kill the egg, but Ruby then says instead that if her egg is a girl, that Scarlet could kill Ruby, because honestly Scarlet doesn't even like Ruby anyways, and then Ruby's daughter would live as Scarlet's one and only heir. But if it was a boy, nothing would really happen, and both would be kept alive. Scarlet takes this risk, and luckily our beloved Cliff hatches from that egg, and he is perfect. And then it skips forward in time to the day the Dragons of Destiny escaped. Cliff asks questions about his grandmother, Scarlet, and it is made aware that Cliff is also terrified of Scarlet, which is rightfully so. And he is sent away because Ruby knows something is going on in the arena because it is Scarlet's hatching day, so you better stay out of the way of the queen. At this point, Ruby has never made it clear to anybody who Cliff's father is, but Cliff has been guessing himself, so he goes to the hatchery to hang around. He definitely does know Jasper, and Jasper does apparently give him a little bit more attention than the other dragons, so he's definitely an option according to Cliff. He plays around with a few friends, and then all of a sudden, that's when the chaos and commotion comes from the arena, not made known until certain dragons inform Jasper and Cliff in the kitchens. It is during this commotion that a scavenger sort of is, escaping, and Cliff actually rushes in to actually help the little guy. Our beloved hero manages to save this little scavenger and make sure that he didn't get eaten, and this scavenger is actually Leaf, like the guy in Dragon Slayer Legends. And the guy, that's why he's such a big hero, because he says he saved a scavenger, and that is the whole reason of this book's name. Anyways, I'm just joking about that. More on that later. I'll tell you the real reason why I think this book's name is Hero. But because of the big events, Ruby eventually finds Cliff and Jasper. Ruby is concerned for the both of them, and it is during this moment that she actually does reveal that Jasper is Cliff's father, which doesn't really surprise him, and Cliff is honestly really, really happy to see Jasper in this new light. They all eventually about whether Ruby will eventually become queen, because Scarlet kind of had her face melted, but that's not really known to anybody yet. To everyone, she's honestly probably dead right now, but we all know that's not true. Ugh. But anyways, because Ruby's still under that little spell, she doesn't really have the ambition she needs to become queen, so she tries to deny the claim, but honestly, between Jasper convincing her and herself actually enforcing the idea that she could be a better queen than Scarlet, she's ready to prepare for that option. Unfortunately, Queen Scarlet doesn't die. Stupid Queen Scarlet. Alright, moving on from the summary, one thing I really loved was the attention of detail, like the whole thing had in total. It only had maybe around 100 pages, or 50, I don't know, I was reading on my phone, so the pages are all messed up. So a really, really short book, like a really quick read for most people, honestly, and it really did time me over while waiting for the hybrid prints to come out, and all in all, it was just really well done. And we all love Cliff, so it was really nice to see him again, especially because he was the main narrator. Whenever it's the little dragon narrating, it's always so fun to hear them talk. This book is centered mainly on family and connections and relationships, which is something that is nice to see in a Wings of Fire book, because usually you don't really see these types of themes in Wings of Fire books, other than like Mudwing themes, like with Clay and his siblings. Really, usually it's just about balances and power and stuff like that. Another thing is, Ruby and Jasper's dynamic are simply amazing. Even when she was Tourmaline as a young dragonette, they both got into mischief, and one of my favorite things in their book was their little plausible deniability phrase they said whenever they got in trouble trying to pass off the blame. All in all, they just bring out the best parts in each other, and even as adults, they care for each other so much, and you can definitely tell that they feel for each other is so genuine, especially Jasper, and he absolutely adores Ruby. One thing I did kind of think was a bit, not unrealistic, but kind of weird, and maybe it was just the fact that it was kind of maybe unplanned by the authors, was the fact that Jasper noticed and remembered who Tourmaline and Ruby were, and that they were the exact same dragon. I mean, it definitely shows a lot about his character for actually recognizing that she's the same dragon with his condition and all, but honestly, I thought it was a bit odd. No, he never mentioned it to anyone. I mean, it did say that he was under a threat that is really dangerous with Queen Scarlet and all, but he could at least maybe say something, and I'm sure other dragons noticed as well. But the fact that anybody did not raise any questions and that nobody knew about those questions before was kind of suspicious, but I guess that's the point of getting the point that Scarlet was pretty much this all-powerful tyrannical leader dictator lady. But honestly, it's really my only nitpick. It's not really even a nitpick, honestly. I just thought it was strange, other than having it so short, because I wanted to see more Cliff. Another thing I really wanted to notice was that the fact that Leaf's appearance with the Skywings was actually remembered, and to see it put in this context makes a lot of the situation kind of really funny. I just love Cliff so much, and I love how his story tied into this random scavenger story, and it just strengthens the world building just in general. Way better than Warriors, by the way. I have 2 random theories or things that I did notice while reading the book. The first one is the tunnel that was in the hatchery that went through the herb garden. I wonder what that was used for, if it was important or not, or if it was just kind of for the sake of this book, because honestly, it'd be really interesting if it went to like a time before Scarlet, because it mentioned it was kind of an older kind of hole in the earth, so I wonder what that would have been used for. I don't know if it's important or not. I'm probably just dwelling on something that is useless, but honestly, it'll be a really interesting concept. Another thing is, whenever Cliff grows up, he'd become this influential speaker, an artist, and he has musical talent, and he absolutely loves to show that. So I believe, because he's a prince, he will use this for good and become a very, very important figure. And honestly, it's really nice to kind of explore his character a little bit more, because he does say a lot of the time that he's going to be capable of great things. And I just want to explore that and see what happens, and I'm still crossing my fingers, and hopefully Tui will write some sort of book involving all the baby dragonettes we've seen throughout the years. If that ever happens, it'll probably be the best moment of my life. Anyways, that whole point is the reason why I think Cliff's book is named Hero. It's all going to be foreshadowing towards him becoming this, him having all this potential to do greatness. And that, I think, is the reason why this book is called Hero. It's all going to be foreshadowing. That's really all I noticed while reading this book, and really it was kind of a short read. I definitely recommend it, honestly. It'll just brighten your day. I definitely would rate this book really high, and it was probably my favorite Winglets book, and I'm glad it released just before the next Wings of Fire book. And I will be getting another video for you guys about that. I just got the book like yesterday, and I'm starting to read it. I will be done soon, so probably maybe next week is whenever that'll release. But that's it for today. Let me know if you notice anything in this novel, and I'll see you guys later.